Selamat datang and welcome to ASEAN Today. I'm Ain Bandial of the Brunei Times in Bandar Seri Begawan.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta, and this is your monthly look at the dynamic Southeast Asia region. Indonesia has officially signed on to a decade-old regional agreement on air pollution. As an ASEAN member state, Indonesia is now obligated to actively involve itself in efforts to mitigate air pollution, both nationally and through intensified regional and international cooperation. In June 2002, other ASEAN countries signed the treaty to fight the impact of transboundary haze pollution resulting from land and forest fires, mainly in Indonesia. A day after the September 16th signing, Indonesia intensified a fight against a massive forest fire in southern Sumatra. An area near Palembang was one of the worst hit areas. Hundreds of military and police personnel were deployed to stop the spread of the fire. Artificial rain was used in an attempt to douse the flames.
Tropical storm Fengwang left a trail of tragedy in the Philippines. The storm system killed 5 people and forced more than 20,000 people from their flooded homes on September 19th. Government offices and financial markets were shut down, classes were suspended and flights cancelled as heavy flooding inundated Manila. This was the second major storm to hit the Philippines in just 2 weeks. A preliminary report released on September 9th confirmed that Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 was in airworthy condition. The remains of 2 more Malaysian victims were brought home for burial in Kuala Lumpur. MH17 crashed after being hit by a missile in eastern Ukraine in July. An international investigation is ongoing. No arrests have been made. Families cried as the bodies of Indonesian victims Henry and Supartini arrived home a few days earlier. All 298 passengers and 15 crew members were killed, including 12 Indonesians. And Australia's Prime Minister met his counterpart in Malaysia on September 5th to assess the ongoing search for missing Malaysia Airlines flight MH370. Tony Abbott's visit with Najib Razak was to reiterate their commitment in finding the aircraft that disappeared in March, with 239 people aboard.
Cuba's foreign minister visited Vietnam to seek wider cooperation between the two countries. It was Bruno Rodriguez Padilla's 4th visit to the country. After meeting with counterpart Pham Binh Minh, Padilla called on Prime Minister Nguyen Thanh Dung. At present, bilateral trade consists of rice, textile, footwear, computers, electronics, wood, and coffee. Vietnam provides more than 200,000 tons of rice to Cuba each year. 5 Indonesian cities say they'll be ready when the upcoming ASEAN Open Skies policy takes effect next year. The 5 cities are Jakarta, Medan, Surabaya, Denpasar, and Makassar. International airports in these cities are gearing up to accommodate more flights. Expansion at the country's main gateway, Soekarno-Hatta, is set to be completed next year.
Myanmar released its first census in 3 decades on August 30th, with the numbers showing a population of more than 51 million people. An accurate population count is critical for the country undertaking economic and social reforms. The issue of the Rohingya ethnic group became a problem during the census after it was announced that the Rohingyas were not counted as Myanmar citizens. The Chinese online retail platform Taobao has become increasingly popular in Singapore. Parent company Alibaba has been expanding operations internationally. Taobao is China's version of eBay or Amazon, offering items many at half the price found in Singapore. The Lion City was the first destination in Alibaba's global expansion. The company has more than 280,000 registered users in Singapore and more than 210,000 in neighboring Malaysia.
Thailand leads the world in one unique category. It is the #1 producer of edible insects. ASEAN Today's Andita Winda explains.
Farmers in northeastern Thailand once solely relied on a good rice crop for their income. Today, they can make an additional $5,000 from harvesting insects for food, a significant sum in a region where the annual per capita income is only around $2,200. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization says insects have traditionally been an integral part of human diets in nearly 100 countries, particularly in Asia, Africa, and Latin America, with more than 1,600 species consumed. Boontham Puthachat is a farmer in northeastern Thailand. His family is one of 30 in Nakhon Ratchasima province that are raising mounds of the profitable crisp and crunchy critters. He started the business 4 years ago with a modest capital investment, relatively low-cost inputs such as cricket feed and a little physical labor. Now he reaps an annual profit of about $3,000.
เมื่อก่อนรายได้ครั้งหนึ่งเป็นปีครับทำนาแต่ธุรกิจจิ้งหรีดก็2 เดือนครั้งหนึ่งปีหนึ่งก็6 ครั้งก็ทำให้เขามีเงินใช้จ่ายในครอบครัวดีขึ้นครับ
In Bangkok markets, thousands of insects lie in heaps ready for sale, including black beetles, crickets, and water bugs. Owners of these edible insect stalls are supplied by insect farmers in another province, with deliveries in both dried and fresh form. The best sellers are creamy larvae, followed by grasshoppers. Edible insects are expensive, but customers are willing to pay the high prices. 1 kilogram of dried crickets is about $13, while red ant eggs cost around $16 per kilogram. Besides generating extra income, insects have proven to be nutritious.
For many people is that it's good, healthy, nutritious food. The amount of protein that's in insects is equivalent to meat or fish. The insects, depending on the species of course, are loaded with micronutrients, vitamins and minerals.
In Thailand, many people, not just the rural poor, enjoy eating some of the 200 different species of insects on offer. This restaurant in Bangkok serves typical northeastern foods and up to 10 insect dishes depending on the season. The favorite dish here is fried water bugs.
มันจะเหนียวและก็นุ่มแล้วก็จะมีธรรมชาติของมันแบบที่ไม่เหมือนกับแมลงอื่นคือความเหนียวกับความหอม
With an average annual output of 7,500 tons in recent years, Thailand leads the world in producing insects for the dining table. Adita Winda for ASEAN Today.
More ASEAN Today is coming up shortly.
We talk with the man running the region's leading budget air carrier. AirAsia's Tony Fernandez reveals his expansion plans. He's in the hot seat next. You're watching ASEAN Today. I'm Ayn Bandial in Bandar Sri Begawan.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka in Jakarta. The double Malaysia Air tragedies had an impact on airlines in the region. But AirAsia's Tony Fernandez says his expansion plans are on target. He's in the hot seat.
Business has been good. I mean, obviously, we're hoping for a little bit of rationalization from Malaysian Airlines. And obviously, we've competed against an irrational Malaysian Airlines. So I think that'll be very good for us. Business has returned in Indonesia. We're profitable in Indonesia. And Thailand, we're seeing much better scenario with the coup kind of settling down things. So I'm expecting a very good fourth quarter, and 2015 should be a very good year.
What's your latest expansion plans? Where to next?
Really, our expansion plans are all over ASEAN and China, and now we're heading towards India, bringing Indians over to ASEAN. My big goal for 2015 is to open up Indonesia more to ASEAN, people of ASEAN. People, when you talk about tourism in Indonesia, it's all about Bali, but actually there's a hell of a lot more to see in this amazing country. So we've done it in places like Bandung. We're going to use our marketing muscle to really push other areas in Sumatra and Java especially, and some in Kalimantan and Sulawesi to promote Indonesia and most of the world. There's an enormous tourism potential in this country, not just Bali.
As you know, Malaysia takes over as ASEAN chair heading into the ASEAN economic community. How do you plan to take advantage of the opportunities that presents?
Well, we're already quite far ahead of the curve. I think it's a great time for Malaysia to be the chair. I'm a big believer in ASEAN. I think this year they've really got to focus on branding so the common man understands what ASEAN is about, and persuade some of the doubters that a one market is better than just 10 disparate countries. For me, I'm going to drive an ASEAN travel pass so that people of ASEAN can get even more connected and allow SMEs to also travel easier to export their business outside of their own country.
Last question, any new directions for you personally?
Yeah, I'm out of car racing. I'm really kind of focusing less and doing more. I have my AirAsia and Tune group. Those are the two things that I'm really focused on. We have AirAsia X now starting in Indonesia and Thailand. And
How about the media?
the media, well, I still have my studio. I'm still making albums.
Okay.
But it's really Tune, and we're going into media a little bit from Tune in terms of trying to create our own Netflix.
So refocus on your core.
Yeah, core, but football's still my love.
Fernandez was here in Jakarta to launch a new joint credit card with CIMB Niaga Bank. More ASEAN Today is on the way.
Brunei debuted its first ever commercial film. We're reviewing the movie Yasmin that featured Indonesian actors. Just ahead.
This is ASEAN Today.
And we're coming to you this month from Jakarta and Bandar Seri Begawan. Brunei's first ever commercial film recently hit Southeast Asian theatres. It's a regional co-production starring Indonesian artists, as ASEAN Today's Prisma Kinanti reports.
Ini adalah salah satu
Cinemas in Brunei almost always showcase Hollywood blockbusters, but this time they're showing Yasmin, the country's first ever commercial feature film that's being screened in theaters throughout Southeast Asia. Bruneian director Siti Kamaluddin says the name Yasmin was derived from the jasmine flower. She compared the fragrant flower to the movie, which is finally gaining attention in her home country.
Mesti kerana cinta.
Something which is small, maybe you don't even notice it sometimes because it's so small, right? But when it's there, you know it's there. So it's something very powerful yet unassuming.
Kan saya sudah cakap, jangan bersilat.
Released in late August, Yasmin is a coming-of-age tale about a young girl and her journey to become a champion in Silat, a form of martial arts practiced in parts of Southeast Asia. Her father, played by Indonesia's Reza Rahadian, disapproves of her ambitions. After 4 years in development, the movie was made on a tight 45-day shoot in 2012. Featuring cast and crew from Indonesia, Malaysia, and Hong Kong.
Konsistensi, pegang itu.
Bukan masalah seksinya jadi yang pertama dan segala macam, tapi exploring dan energinya itu yang menarik sekali, kan mengeksplorasi cerita seperti apa sih yang akan dibuat gitu untuk menjadi pionir gitu ya dari feature film Brunei ke depannya.
Kuncinya ada pada kekuatan.
Adapting to the Brunei dialect was the most challenging experience for the main cast members, Indonesia's Reza Rahadian and Malaysia's Nabila Huda.
Ada Siti di situ ya, dia cukup membantu untuk kemudian bagaimana saya bisa pronounce dengan betul, bisa mengucapkan dengan baik dan benar gitu. Kemudian penggalan-penggalan kata perkataannya juga itu banyak dikoreksi. Saya mulai enjoy, mulai tidak terlalu kaku lagi, sampai akhirnya proses syuting bisa berjalan lancar gitu.
Dialog tu yang paling susah sekali. So Siti akan, bila dia dengar I practice I punya dialog, dia akan betulkan. So bila diorang take, alhamdulillah tak ada apa-apa yang jadi lah. Macam mungkin for second take because of the line kan. But itu je lah yang paling mencabar sekali.
Kita berjumpa di gelanggang.
The actors were put through the martial arts spaces by Chan Man-ching, known for his work with Hong Kong superstar Jackie Chan. The Malay language film has been shown in Brunei, Indonesia, Singapore, and at international film festivals, including the Cannes Film Market. Yasmin also won Best Asian Film at the 2014 New Shuttle International Fantastic Film Festival in Switzerland. Prisma Kinanti for ASEAN Today.
Tenaga dalam yang besar.
Tenaga dalam.
Here are several events on the ASEAN calendar. Puppeteers from all over the world will head to Thailand for the World Puppet Show that runs from November 1st to the 10th at the Sanam Luang Royal Park in Bangkok. A street dancing contest is featured in the Philippines Pinta Flores Festival from November 3rd to the 5th in San Carlos City. And the 25th ASEAN Summit opens November 12th in Myanmar's capital, Naypyidaw. Cambodia's new Khmer architecture movement once produced some of the country's most beautiful buildings, but many were torn down. And as ASEAN Today's Janice Liu reports, efforts have begun to preserve the remaining historical treasures.
The new Khmer architecture movement began when Cambodia gained its independence from France in 1953 and ended with the overthrow of King Norodom Sihanouk in 1970. The style blended Western modernism with elements derived from the ancient Angkor civilization and from Cambodia's indigenous rural culture. But many of these buildings have been demolished to make way for more profitable modern developments, including cinemas and apartment blocks.
សម្រាប់ការដែលគេវាយបំផ្លាញអគារទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងគឺវាប៉ះពាល់ច្រើនក្នុងន័យស្ថាបត្យកម្មក៏ដោយក្នុងន័យប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្រក៏ដោយហើយអគារទាំងអស់ហ្នឹងគឺវាជាផ្នែកមួយនៃប្រវត្តិសាស្ត្ររបស់ប្រទេសជាតិទាំងមូលហើយកាលណាដែលយើងវាយវាចោលឬក៏ដើម្បីធ្វើការពិវត្តហ្នឹងយើងត្រូវគិតដែរថាតើអគារណាឬក៏ទីតាំងណាដែលយើងគួរតែធ្វើយើងមិនមែនជ្រើសរើសធ្វើគ្រប់កន្លែង
The National Sports Complex, more commonly known as the Olympic Stadium, was built to host the 1963 Southeast Asian Peninsular Games, which were later relocated to Indonesia due to political unrest. Later, under the Khmer Rouge, the stadium was used as a killing ground where officials from the Lone Nol regime were executed. While the stadium is still standing, when the complex was redeveloped starting in 2000, most of the grounds around the stadium were sold off to housing developers, leaving little space for parking. Despite the loss of many new Khmer architecture sites, it's important to preserve what remains for future generations. Some of these buildings are now run down and under constant threat of demolition by developers.
Ich war informiert darüber, wie die moderne Khmer-Architektur im Großen und Ganzen ausgesehen hat. Ich habe mich informiert darüber, aber diese Qualität von Informationen zusammen mit dem Erlebnis, diese Bauten selber zu sehen vor Ort, die Informationen über die Geschichte, über die Kulturgeschichte, über die politische Entwicklung und das Zusammenspiel zwischen all dem und der gebauten Architektur, inklusive der Architektur, die zerstört worden ist, hat mich sehr, sehr stark beeindruckt.
Ich war begeistert von dieser Tour. Sie war unglaublich dicht. Wir haben ganz viele verschiedene Gebäude angeguckt. Wir haben eine Architektur vorgefunden, die mich zum Teil unglaublich umgehauen hat von ihrer Größe, von ihrer Kraft, Aussage, von ihren Formen.
With bigger and brighter the trend now in Cambodia and few local people interested in old buildings, tourism seems to be the main hope for preserving new Khmer architecture for future generations. Janice Liu for ASEAN Today.
It is feedback time when we get to hear what you have to say about ASEAN. And joining us with this month's comments is Duradi Chanya of the ASEAN Secretariat. Dear, good to see you. What is the buzz this month?
Well, Dalton, this month we have several requests and comments. You can set this on Twitter. It will be a happy day when you come and visit Makassar. We're sure there are many ASEAN stories to be found there in the capital of Indonesia's South Sulawesi province. Thanks for writing, Yuka. Another tweet came from Agung. ASEAN Today should be on every week. That is the future possibility, Agung. And one more tweet, this one from Hani. I just saw a great program. I can get new knowledge from ASEAN Today. We're very glad to hear that, Hani. Let us know what you're thinking out there. Email us at ASEANTodayTV@gmail.com. Post something on our Facebook page or tweet us at ASEAN Today TV. And that's all for this month, Dalton.
All right, Dee, thank you very much. And you're heading to the summit next month, of course?
In November,
Yep,
absolutely.
That's the big one. Okay, thank you very
Hope
much.
to see you there.
Yep, Ayin.
Dalton and Dee, Singapore held a party for its most famous Chinese guests recently. The celebration on September 5th was for giant pandas Kai Kai and Xia Xia. It was their second anniversary in residence at the Wildlife Park River Safari. The male, Kai Kai, turned 7 on September 14th, while his female partner, Xia Xia, turned 6 on September 3rd. They were treated to a special birthday cake designed by college students in Singapore. And that's ASEAN Today for this month. I'm Ain Bandel of the Brunei Times in Bandar Seri Begawan.
And I'm Dalton Tanonaka of the Indonesia channel in Jakarta. Terima kasih, and please join us again next month.